Hello, fellow humans. Chris here again. So today, I wanted to answer a question that came up on one of my older videos. When I started doing these videos, I wasn't sure how far I was going to go with it, but the main goal was to kind of just share what I've learned and hopefully get some audience interaction and engagement. So having said that, I wanted to respond to a really good question that came up. When you were on active duty, what was a typical workday for you? Did you enjoy your time as an MST? And would you have chosen a different rate if given the chance? So, really good questions. So, I'm going to answer each one. I mentioned in the comment that it's a lot to put in words in writing. So, I'm going to just go ahead and do a quick video response here. So, again, we're talking MST, so Marine Science Technician. So, this person that left this comment mentioned that they're on the wait list for MST A school. So I'm going to answer from the perspective of somebody who just got out of A school to hopefully give a good, kind of indication of what you might expect when you get done with A school. So I have not worked in every area of the MST world, so I'm just going to speak on the ones that I have experience with. The two main areas that I've worked in under the general broader umbrella of the MST stuff is response and prevention. Under those, you have incident management division under the response, and then inspections under prevention. Specifically with incident management division, you're dealing with pollution response, mostly oil spill type stuff. And then under prevention inspection, you have facilities inspector and container inspector. So I'll start off with the pollution response side. Assuming that you've just gotten out of A school, you've just made, you put on your third class crows, you're going to be heavily pushed towards getting your qual. So if you're coming in pollution response world, that's going to be your PR qual, pollution responder. And that typically takes, from what I've seen, and usually the expectation is about 6 months that your unit is going to want you to get PR qualled. So basically, that's going to be your big push. So when you come in, a typical day for that at that stage, and again, I should say first off that typical in the PR world of MST is not really typical. The nature of response itself is that you're responding to stuff that happens, and every case is a little bit different. So there's not necessarily a typical day, but as close as you can get to typical would be you'd come in, your supervisor would basically check on like how you are doing on your qual packet, your they call it PQS, your performance qualification packet for your qual, which in this case is pollution responder. So you're going to be getting trained on that. You're going to be expected to study your CFRs, and just basically familiarize yourself on paper with as much as you can. In the meantime of there being an actual response. And then you'll also have harbor patrols, they call them HARPATs, which is just your routine walk the dock type stuff. So you're going to marinas and checking for maybe oil in the water that's just not getting reported, or situations where maybe there's a kind of a questionable looking vessel that maybe needs to be secured a little bit, or maybe needs to have paint cans or empty oil drums moved further from the dock, just maintenance type things like that. And the main point of a HARPAT, other than catching something, really is about it's kind of like advertisement in a way. It's like public affairs. You're letting the public know that we as the Coast Guard do check this stuff out, and just kind of incentivizing harbor masters to do their part to report oil spills if they're there, and just letting them know that we do check on that stuff. Again, I'm kind of giving this information under the assumption that you've already finished A school. So if you are still on the wait list for A school, some of the stuff I'm saying might be kind of like foreign. So I apologize for that. I'm trying to just give the general without going too far into the weeds. Otherwise, this will be like a 2-hour video. So anyway, so you'll be doing that kind of stuff, harbor patrols. You'll be studying a lot on when you're at the unit, and then when there's any kind of response, expect that you're going to be on that response until you're fully qualified. They're going to want to have you on any response that comes up. And again, those are mostly going to be oil spills. They can manifest in any number of ways. Obviously, the most often that's going to just be from a boat, whether the boat is sinking or crashes. But then there's other times where it could be like a fuel transfer at an actual facility. It can even be like actual car crashing, and the oil from the car makes its way into a drain pipe and filters out into the bay. So anything like that, you're going to be going out on all of those. And as you get more knowledgeable in the PR world, as you get more sign-offs, as you get closer to the point where you are ready to sit for a board, they will put you into the leadership role on these cases more and more, to the point where, when you get closer to that stage near the end of going for your board, they're going to have you running the whole thing, and they're just going to stand back and watch you. So basically, in the outset, when you get out of A school, that's going to be your main focus, is getting qualified. And this actually holds true for any of the departments that I've worked in, facilities or containers as well. It's going to be heavily weighted towards getting you qualified and getting you in the field experience as much as possible. So painting it with a very broad brush, that's the PR stuff. So for containers and facilities, those are under the umbrella of prevention, and typically, in my experience anyway, they work together. So if you're in facilities, you're in containers, and vice versa. They usually will divvy up in the office who's kind of like more the container team and who's more the facilities team, but they're going to expect you to have your qual in both of those. So that part of it is basically the same. You're going to be focused on getting your qualification in those first 6 months. With containers and facilities, obviously those are two separate quals, so they're not going to expect you to get both of them at the same time, but they'll expect you to focus on one and then go to the next one after that. So same thing, you're going to be studying a lot. And the thing about prevention compared to response that's kind of interesting is, to me anyway, I actually kind of prefer prevention just because of the consistency of it. It's easier from a training perspective. It's easier to, in my opinion anyway, it's easier to take the training that you get in prevention and apply it directly to actually being in the field. Whereas with response, there's so many variables that happen when you're on an oil spill response that it's impossible to make one straight chart of like, okay, this is what you do, boom, 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 boom. There's a lot of repetition that you have to do as the pollution responder. You have to just get involved in a lot of cases and just see it for yourself. And then you start to develop kind of like a sixth sense of what you're dealing with and how to respond appropriately in that. And that's not really something that you can get in a textbook. That's just something that you have to do through repetition. So the thing with prevention that I like is you can do a lot more of that there. You can really get book smart with that stuff, and you can also apply that pretty straightforwardly, because everything is pretty much laid out there for you in facility and containers. And again, I'm talking about this as assuming that you've just gotten out of A school. I'm not going to go into too much detail on what containers or facilities does again, because I'll be here for hours. Um, but just to answer the question in a general sense, that's the main expectation in those first 6 months, is getting qualified and getting out in the field as much as possible. Um, Aside from that, the, quote, typical day stuff in the office is like your casework, getting in, using Missile, which you'll learn about Missile in A school. You'll train on that a lot. Missile is the system that we use to basically input data from the cases that we do and responses, and whether it be an inspection or a response. So you'll be kind of tasked with a lot of that. Again, same as concept as when you're out in the field. Your supervisor, your department is going to be really expecting you to immerse yourself in all the areas of the office. So you'll be doing a lot of Missile casework, and you'll also be standing duty a lot. So you'll be doing you'll have the duty phone, which basically means that you are taking that phone home with you, and you have it with you 24/7, and will be expected to answer at any hour of the day. That especially becomes a thing in response. In prevention, it tends to not be as big of a thing where you're getting called a lot. You will get called sometimes, whether it be like a security breach at a facility or something like that. But that's, in my experience, that's a little bit more far and few in between, as opposed to in the pollution world, in the response world, you can absolutely get called in the middle of the night because spills can happen anytime. So I hope that answered the question. If you have anything more specific that you want to know within that umbrella of the pollution or facilities or containers world, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to make a video for that. Again, I don't want to get too far into the weeds. And then the other questions were if I've enjoyed being an MST, and if I would do it again, or if I would choose something else. Definitely, I've really have enjoyed being an MST. The reason why I picked MST was, well, for one, my choices were very limited because I'm colorblind, actually. So it was like either that or Yeoman and a couple other ones, and to me, MST was just far and away the preferable one. But honestly, even if I was allowed to do all the other ones, I'd probably still choose MST unless I was a lot younger, and I felt, like I wanted a challenge. I might try to do AST. I used to be a pretty strong swimmer. I'm not in the shape that I used to be when I was younger, but 15 or 20 years ago, if I was feeling up for it, maybe I would have liked to have tried to go AST, which is basically your rescue swimmer. But that's really hard. If you've seen The Guardian, for what I've heard, that's fairly accurate depiction of what that training is like. So yeah, I'd probably choose MST again. I really liked the concept of the MST mission, environmental protection, and just, it's not it's law enforcement, but it's not you're not carrying a weapon or anything like that. It's good for developing people skills. I just enjoy it. I just think it's a good mission, and I've enjoyed every aspect of it. It's very weighted towards protecting the environment, and safety of human life as well. You look at a situation like Deepwater Horizon, down in the Gulf, which I had mentioned before. I was involved in that response. Lives were lost, and obviously with hurricanes and things like that, MSTs are always deployed to situations like that. So I like being involved in a mission that is really weighted towards protection of environment, protection of people, protection of animals as well. Hence the duck scrubber nickname that we've been so graciously painted with in MST world. But yeah, that's in a nutshell how I feel about it. And yeah, I think if I had it to do over again, I would still go MST probably. I've really enjoyed it. If you want to know more about the MST world as you progress through the ranks, I can get to that in future videos as well. And if you have any more specific questions within MST, I will be more than happy to make a video on those specific elements of the MST world or Coast Guard in general. To the extent that I have knowledge in it, I will also talk about that. So let me know in the comments. I hope that this video helped a little bit. Also, if you are on the waitlist for MSTA school, I will be more than happy to give tips on MSTA school and things to expect there. It has been a little while since I've gone to A school. I don't want to date myself, but it's been a while. But I think that for the most part, it's still going to hold up as what you can expect. I had a guy who was in A school like 4 years ago, and I was actually over in Yorktown for a different training at the time, but I was at the same training center, so I actually was able to observe a little bit of him. And from what I saw, the A school class looked very similar to what I had remembered it being many years prior to that. So anyway, if you have questions on MST A school stuff, I'll definitely be more than happy to talk about that. And honestly, even if a question doesn't come up, I'll probably do a video on that too, because I think that's definitely helpful for people who are thinking about going MST. Anyway, I don't want this to go too long, so I will catch up with you all again soon. Thank you for your question. I hope that this helped a little bit. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.